My name is Shumbamhini. I'll be taking you through a discussion on risk management. Myself, I'm very highly experienced in failing. And I've seen it all. I don't think there are certain areas that I have not failed. My biggest failure that I'm indeed proud of was the company that we once ran called Strategist Investments. So Strategist Investments was the biggest supplier of irrigation equipment in the NGOs. You know, when the drip irrigation started, the lead supplier there was a company known as Strategist Investments. We started this company with my brother, who is also my friend, and there were two shareholders. We gave each other fancy titles. I think I was the CEO, and because I was employed elsewhere, he was the managing director. So we were two people, and we had these massive contracts. So what happened is we found ourselves with a lot of money that we did not plan for. We were actually shocked, because what these NGOs did is they would give you in advance, okay? And you put that advance in Kingdom Bank. Remember those 7-day investments that would multiply like crazy. So we are saying we have got lots of money that we are paid, and Kingdom Bank is actually treating us very well. Suddenly we are their friends, and we started supplying one NGO. One NGO then gave another away to another NGO, and suddenly the name Strategist was very popular with NGOs. But we did not have a plan. I think we were just lucky to get those contracts. But with my brother, he had also another vision, and I also had another vision, okay? So we had no same vision. Number two, he had his own business philosophy, which according to him is good. And I had my own business philosophy, which according to me is good. So we then clashed. So at the end of the day, what we ended up doing was just to spend. I think the first shock that I got, because I was fully employed then, and then my friends told me that, look, where are you? Your brother has bought a very beautiful car this side. And then I phoned him, say, matinga mota, matinga nei. So I said, no, I'm also doing my other businesses. You can't ask me that. Okay? Because I was also at work, I felt that perhaps he was also eating money. So I decided also to join him in eating money. So we started spending, and then what happened in the industry, the price of equipment suddenly went up. It went up by more than 500%. We had been given advances, therefore we could not supply. And the advances were no longer able to acquire the drums, but we had acquired assets, motor vehicles, etc., etc. To try and sell those vehicles, you could actually not meet the demand, the order. So we ended up going to Micro King. So when we went to Kingdom Bank, we actually went with orders, because NGOs were continually giving us orders. Say, look, we have got these orders. And they were very happy to say, look, this is a very, very good deal. We got more money. We started spending the money again before we bought the equipment. Okay? At the end of the day, we now have two debts. The first one was to fulfill the contract. Then the second one was the debt for Micro King. Now we saw that we were in trouble. My brother is very good in marketing, but is also weak when it comes to when the situation gets tough. He's a bit weak, but he's a good marketer. So he disappeared from the scene. You could no longer see, you could no longer find him, the phones were down, and then we ended up going to the High Court. All the NGOs were after a ferrycratic. And there I was alone. In the High Court, I think I hired a boss, I think, who was a lawyer then, and then he accompanied us to the High Court. I didn't know what was supposed to happen. But when he came back, the lawyer said, no, look, the case has been closed. We convinced them that there is high inflation, therefore the supplier could not supply. So the NGO said, look, let's just write it off. So we survived by the grace of God. And the case was closed. It was not the end. Now the bill for the lawyer. It's another issue. We did not manage to pay the lawyer. So again, some were coming from the lawyer. So somehow we managed to close. What am I saying? I've got high experience in failing, which is also high experience, which has also sharpened me in actually doing risk management. We had bodyguards, I'm sure we moved around with the bodyguards because with a lot of money. People who move around us, he had his own camp, I have my own camp, and we're just squandering the money because we had money before we had a business plan. So the first key step to risk management is having a business plan. Just think, if you are running a business, think wildly, what could happen to my business? People think that risk management is for big businesses only. But risk management is for any business. If you have got your own small katak shop or a small business, chicken run or whatever, you need to embrace risk management. Here I want to share with you of a story of a man called Horatio. I've always shared it whenever I present a story on risk management. How many of you know a guy called Horatio Spafford? Horatio Spafford. It is well with my soul. Okay, Horatio Spafford was a wealthy Chicago lawyer. He survived between 1828 to 1888. He had a thriving legal practice, vast real estate across Chicago in the United States. He was the Donald Trump of that time. Okay? He was the richest in states that time. At the height of their success, Horatio and his wife tragically lost their son. Their only son died due to mysterious circumstances. They were devastated. In 1871, soon after the death of their son, the infamous Great Chicago Fire struck, wiping out Horatio's real estate empire. There's a fire that struck the whole town. Chicago is again to ashes. And his properties went to ashes and zero. They were further devastated. Horatio decided to send his family and wife and the remaining 4 daughters to Europe for a holiday away from the tragedies. He said, look, my family, we have seen enough. Our son died. Now I'm zero. And the insurance those days. So then he decided to send his family to Europe for a holiday. On their way to Europe, another tragedy struck. Ship collision, which killed all Horatio's 4 daughters on the spot. Right? On his way to Europe to see his devastated wife, that's when Horatio penned the now popular song, It Is Well With My Soul. Zanaka Mwemangu. So what am I saying? If you are running your business, what can happen to it? What can happen to it? Yes, we are running ferrycratic. We did not know that the prices will shoot like that way. So we had our money in kingdom, but the prices shot up. Horatio had these properties, but suddenly they were banned. You are running your own chicken run. What if there are floods? What if there is a fire? What happens? So this is the background of risk management. Risk management is that we need to prepare for unforeseen losses. In life and in business, we plan, but there are certain unforeseen negative occurrences that may affect our life or our businesses. Anything negative that can affect your business and is unforeseen. It could be a fire, it could be theft, it could be dishonest of employees. They are all risks. So negative occurrences that may occur, may affect our business is known as risk. We need to have standby solution for risks that may strike us in our life journeys. In emergency, knockout panel. In case of emergency, knockout panel, what is your plan B if risk strikes your business? So the simple definition of risk is the likelihood of loss or likelihood of gain. Because risk comes in two forms. But hatinoziva kuti loss. But there is also a risk of gain. Speculative marketing, it's risk, speculative risk, where you try to burn money there and try to offload it there. You are trying to play around with speculative risk. So risk looks at both loss and gain. It's positive and negative. Okay? So people think risk is always negative. You need to take moderate risk, which is positive for your business. But for this discussion, I think we'll look at the risk of loss. So there are two types of risks, two categories, two broad categories. The first category is the one that is known as pure risk. Pure risk is also known as downside risks. These are the risks of a loss to your business. Ndo anozima pure risks. Ndo atoda kudiscussa nasi. Saka marisk atakasangana nawo mufericratic investments ndeapi? Risk of poor strategy. We did not have a vision. We had separate visions as directors, but our visions were not congruent. Tatakatosiyana zvachose. At the end of the day, we ended up tichitsaka samari because one was saying, no, I need to do this, and there were no control. So the risk of no strategy, the risk of having a business plan, the risk of having a non-business plan, and then the risk of poor corporate governance. We did not have corporate governance. We did not have any records. We would just give each other money. We also moved around with trunks of money then, just distributing. That is risk of poor corporate governance. Then there is the market risk. My risk are outside the mimi. Akata affect futu fericratic. Takatozoona kuti my prices they have now increased. Yet we have been given advances. So my market risk are outside the organization. Let me tell you one thing that happened in 2008. Businesses collapsed overnight. Change of policy. Businesses collapsed overnight. People who were staying in hotels found themselves without any room. Because remember, people would burn $2 or $5 and book 6 months in a hotel. Are you aware of that? Yes? I've got I'll also give the example of my brother. He's my friend. I can always give him. I've got authority. He used to stay at what is Jameson. 6 months. That was his room. That was his, because he had burnt a few dollars. But when the policy was changed overnight, he found himself unable to pay. Some were running businesses that were based on poverty. Okay? Because there was a lot of poverty. So when things changed, my shops my business were to collapse. And I not more than 1 week. I got to collapse. That's how policy can change your business. So you always need to be thinking around those issues. Like I said, I've got experience in failing, so I'll be giving practical examples as I go. So we've said risk is the possibility of loss. You need to embrace proper risk management for your small business as you grow with your business. What are the steps that you need to manage risk? The first step is risk identification. Okay? You are running your business. You take down your management team or your partners, you say, okay, today we just want to talk about possible risks that could happen to our business. Okay? You are just listing them down. Okay? If you have got your tuck shop, there's a risk that the city council will demolish it. Okay? Yes, you are paying to sit over Harare. That's not a guarantee. They may change. It's said. So there's a risk that the city council will demolish. There's a risk of fire. So you start listing down. Don't make it an academic exercise. Just dream wildly to say what could happen. So the first step, the risk identification. You list down all the possible areas of loss. Okay? That's what we should have done at Fericratic, but we didn't know. Maybe it was a lesson for us. We should have listed down all the possible risks that could affect our business. So we'll talk about methods that you use to identify a risk. Maona ma risk anogona strike a business renyu, you need to evaluate or analyze the possible impact of that risk to say, if this happens, what will be the impact in financial terms? The third is to put in place risk control measures. The fourth is risk transfer. The fifth is risk monitoring and review. These are the 5 simple steps that you need to do. But what I have noticed with most business people, they take risk for granted. Only paunozoita loss ndopoona kuti business rako ranyura. And people speak. People like to speak when we go broke. They don't want to speak more serious and why it is successful. They only speak when you go broke. Because we have been ignoring my risk and ingaripo. So what are the methods that you use for risk identification? That is step 1, risk identification. What are the methods that you use? Number 1, you study the past, you study the current, you predict the future. So in other words, by studying the past, you are asking yourself, what losses have happened in the past to my business? Okay? If you are still new, you then need to know the other people who are already in that business. So you study to say what losses has happened to their businesses before. Okay? Study historical records such as financial statements, management accounts of other businesses. They will tell you where they suffered losses. So you go to establish businesses if you are starting. What are the areas of loss? Those in the tracking business, they will tell you that business nema gonyeti mavhiri. You want to go to container. One goes out business nema gonyeti ichi mavhiri. Kwataza manager mavhiri ako hapana. So one was areas of loss. So you need to study the past, identify where the company suffered losses. Mwakaona contract yake kusupply majarini ku Zambia. Akatora chitruck chake akaita sei. Majarini akanyungudika mzira. Handisi. Unoita ungo uchateka ma ice block. Uchiona achinyunguduka so. Majarini. Zichinyura. Isusu takanzwa kuti hanzi kune iyo ndo kachitaura ka. Zimshini zozo kuti hanzi zima slot machines zikuiswa mabhawa mazwano zvo. So I want you to listen carefully to this example. We saw someone and his machines zake ari kuita mari atenga imba nezima machines zozo. Isusu tikati ayoka rega tozitenga over tazitenga kuChina. But we did not do our risk management properly. We did not then engage him with where are you suffering the losses. So we bought those machines, put my machines in bar, and then the machines zedu vanhu vaingowina chete. Satozobvunza mai kuti mari kubuda munhu vanhu vari kuwina seri. Zvikanzi aiwa munhu anouya nekawaya. saka anenge achibaya so kanikirira achingobaya anongobaya achingowina achite macoins achibaya saka before maisa mameshini enyu munhingirini mba mungadai makavhura moisa chigirazi kumberi kuti munhu asabaya. Saka tazovhura taisa chigirazi chiyacho tadzosera zvakufaya macoin vaita se ndvabuda mustaira macoin aya akabva arohwa neinflation business varaita se varavhara covid vayauyawo mabhawa bva avharwa vazadhakwa. How do you get what I'm saying? So if you just take up a business without studying the past, studying other companies to say where have they suffered losses, unonyura. So proper risk management says you should list down all the possible risks that is likely to strike your business. Tati unombotaza past, studying the present, carry out physical inspections, risk surveys. If you are running your farm, you are constantly going around looking for potential fire hazards, etc., putting fire guards, physical inspections, identify hazards. Your business must have operational flow charts to say from this to that to that. Through study of flow charts, you can identify risk areas, study the whole business value chain and identify areas of possible disruptions. There's a value chain, isn't it? You've got your suppliers, you've got your clients, you've got etc., etc. My clients, I will study them. If you've got one client, you've got too much concentration risk. Client here, I can visa mangwana nonyura. I've got a person who was supplying an IT solution to our organization for more than 15 years. And he was getting millions in US dollars. I don't know if you're dzinenge dzakangogara unoshota anta basa rei. Ane mari inotyisa. And it's anga supply IT solution for 15 years. Akagara, he was not working. You actually say, people are lazy. You don't know how to structure deals. He was a millionaire. Suddenly, IT director mbva angochinja. Munyowano yakati handi handidi IT solution. Ndoidi, ndobva yabviswa. You can commit suicide. Hausiri mbinga because mari yatobviswa. And IT director munyowano akati handizvide izvi. What is this? Why are we paying US 1 million per month to this? It was US 1 million per month. Yes. Vayangobviswa overnight because kwachinja IT director. So if you've got one client with a high concentration risk, munonyura zveshuwa. You need to have more clients, diversify risk, etc., etc. Study the whole business value chain and identify possible areas of possible disruption. Study the current external business environment and identify negative factors that can affect your business. Policies can change overnight. Your business rako ruri kudependa nekamwe kagap nekaarbitrage kakabviswa ikako unotonyura. So you need to study those and make sure that you've got plans. Studying the future, try to predict the future. Establish what future changes can affect business operations. Many businesses folded when the economy dollarized because they were based on burning principles. Because, so you see, people who are burning here, we've got fake business people who say Disusuga, who actually believed they were astute business people, but they were making money through burning concept. Pasakaya zonzi ga, munhu wese apa level, playing ground. Ndopa munozonoti ainga standard chartered inosara iripo, but inga yanyura. And it's because inflation inogona kukuita kuti ubelieve kuti unogona business tereng. Ukangopera. I'm not saying don't take advantage of it, but in your background, know that it's not sustainable, then make your business sustainable. Because if your business is based on arbitrage is going to be closed at some point. Take advantage of it, but know what is arbitrage will always be closed at some point. So I just want you to predict the future on your business that you are running. Risk identification should be holistic. Call people who are qualified to help you in the risk identification process of your business. In the risk analysis, identify risks across the whole value chain, your suppliers, your customers, even competitors, your substitute producers. Substitute producers have actually killed most Zimbabwean businesses. Kana wanga wachigadzira mataya okudhara aya anodhura. Ziva kuti maChinese vari kuuya neakanaka. Anoita kunge matiles paimage but asiri matiles. Munaziva? Ende ndo akutrenda mazuva ano. Ma-substitute producers. Possible new entrants. Who is likely to come in? Una idea yako yeningirikini. Taxi yemuningirikini. Someone ari kunzi aka-approach a big company idea yake iyoyo yema-taxi iyoyo. Yakafanana neinozi neuber. Hanzi aka-approach a big company. Nayo. Sikanzi we are not interested but mangwana akuona wakuloncha. So it happens. External business environment, you need to study it. Supply chain risks. If you are getting your imports from Zambia, from South Africa, how sustainable are they? How reliable are they? Possible supply chain disruptions include business stoppage due to risks, striking the supplier, fire the supplier, transport delays, majarina anonyunguduka, labor disruptions, etc. Customer risks. How many customers do you have? Hauna here concentration risk yekuti une one customer kuti akavhuma mangwana achiti handichada zvatovharana. You need to diversify your customers. What is the cost of switching for your customers? Are they loyal to you or it's easy for them to say no hachada or their cost of switching? What are the changing consumer tastes? You want number sticker to your product as you are doing it, but consumer tastes are changing and suddenly you no longer have customers. Competitor risks, you need to adapt to what competitors' moves can negatively affect your business. Are you geared to stand the heat of competition? Substitute producers, we have talked about it. Possible new entrants. With globalization, ladies and gentlemen, it's very important to have good customer care because you think that you are the only supplier in Zimbabwe. But people now have got access to internet. What you are producing locally, they can also buy from Zambia or even Europe through internet. So you need to be very careful. Who would have thought Uber without any car is going to be the biggest tech supplier in the world? External economic factors, study them in your risk management plan. What happens if I'm borrowed? For example, you want to borrow, right? They are saying nowadays, if you get an opportunity to borrow in Zim dollar, what? Borrow. That's what they are telling you, right? Yeah. And it's okay, it's an advantage because it's a highly inflationary environment. And that's what they are telling you. Could borrow now, RTGS, what? You have opened over what to borrow. And you have watch and it Mangwana Reserve Bank what interest rates have increased to 700%. Most businesses close because of that. So you really need to make sure that in your planning you're doing proper financial management. Kuti umuntu wangonzwa kuti pa next door aenda unokwereta mara TJS azodai ini da unokwereta business end. Okay. So external economic factors affect our businesses. Changes in legislation can affect our business. Policy yanga iripo yanga isupporta business yako suddenly yachinjwa. And muZimbabwe zikuchinjwa overnight. Tanga tichiti ma-imports basic commodities ane duty. Iwo wangochirana stock shop chako zvachifaya because okay yakachibhadhira duty wangochismuggler. But okay yavhanzi chiregedza emese kubhadhira duty. Your tax shop yako haikwanisa kustenda that. So you need to diversify to make sure kuti pakaitika chakati kunogona kusumudza. So having identified your risks, the next step is risk analysis. Some you can ignore because they are small. The risk of whatever, maybe loss of small pens, etc., you ignore it. Saka mawana ma-identify ma-risk yenyu handiti moarenka with the highest, with the one with the highest impact ndoenda pamusoro zvichidzika mamwe munoignore handiti. So in risk analysis you establish the likelihood of a risk striking. How likely is the event going to happen? For example, if you take only in the business rangu there's a risk of fire. Likelihood, is it high, medium or low? What is low? Because my chances of fire are low. If it happens, what will be the impact? If it's a fire, it's a high. Then what loss of stock, the likelihood is high, but impact may be low. So you do that risk analysis, you categorize your risk. So you also establish the impact of the risk. If it strikes, what is the dollar value of the loss? So a combination of the likelihood and impact is known as the risk magnitude. So if you say risk of COVID, for example, it was low, and or a risk of an epidemic is low. But if it happens, the impact will be high. Risk of drought is high, impact high. So unengo chingo categorize uchita risk matrix yako. Do that. Don't say I'm a small company, therefore I don't do it. That's where most businesses fail. List all risks identified in a company risk register. Or develop a risk register in Excel or whatever software that you are using. Rank the risks according to risk magnitude, starting with the risks that have got a high impact to your company. And it's first step, risk identification. Second step, analyze. Is it likely? If it happens, what will be the impact? Is it high, medium, low? So I'm going to matrix version. So I'm going to list down my risk over to impact high, medium, low. Risk manager or something. Rocket science. It's simple. Google list high impact, low, whatever. You are actually ranking them, and it's. So having done that, you have analyzed your risks. The next step is then to develop solutions to your risk. Basically, there are four T's of risk management. In risk management, the 4 T's. Warenka ma risk yako. Either you tolerate a risk, or you treat a risk, or you transfer a risk, or you terminate a risk. In what instances can you tolerate a risk? Okay, no, that's fine. Let me just wrap up. In some instances, you have to tolerate. In some instances, when the risk is very, very small, it's not worth it. For example, you can't spend $5 to save $1. So you just tolerate. To treat, you put in place risk control mechanisms, such as maybe putting fire sprinklers. To transfer, you need to make sure that you have proper insurance solutions. And to terminate is to stop the whole project together. So basically, in a nutshell, I would want to encourage you to consult your risk management experts. We also have Eternal Wealth advisors. Floven is here. Feel free to talk to on any risk management issues and insurance to make sure that you have proper risk management for your small organization or a big organization, and you also have proper insurance solutions. I'm also available 24/7 to assist the entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.